David Van, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Raf. Wonderful to be here with you.
Is this a cancel culture piece of law?
Oh, absolutely not, no. I mean, let's face it, most Australians don't need laws to know how to behave. But this bill will provide sensible protections and peace of mind for many Australians. And that's something that should be important for all Australians.
Your New South Wales Senate colleague, Andrew Bragg, he says gay teachers are being sacked from religious schools right now in New South Wales, and he's worried this bill might contribute to that. What would you say to him?
I would say this bill doesn't contribute to that at all. It doesn't affect that, doesn't cross over that. That behaviour is happening now before this law. The Sexual Discrimination Act has carve-outs for religious bodies, and it has had for years now. So this bill won't change that one little bit.
It does give schools, it's another law, there are already laws like this, but it's another law, a federal law saying, look, if you're a religious school teaching a particular doctrine, you're allowed to advertise that when you advertise for a job. Andrew Bragg's concern, Trent Zimmerman's concern as well, another Liberal MP from New South Wales, is that that's an extra tool. I think Trent Zimmerman's words were, it could be a backdoor way to force a gay student out of a religious school. Do you think that's true?
No, I can't see how that can be construed at all. It's just, if you read the Act, there is no way that can happen.
Do you speak to people like Trent Zimmerman and Andrew Bragg about issues like this?
I literally just saw Trent leaving your studio as I was waiting to come in.
But I guess I
speak to Andrew every day.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm curious about the internal process because you're coming at this from different ends. Do you get a chance to speak to each other about your specific and detailed concerns?
Yeah. Well, we have. Obviously, I see Andrew in the Senate every day, and we talk about all sorts of legislation. We have the party room process. What some of your listeners won't know, that there is also a backbench policy committee process. Yes. So no piece of legislation can go to the Parliament until it's been through the party room. No piece of legislation can go to the party room until it's been through a backbench committee. So
I guess I'm asking if
we
you've
have
had
lots of opportunities.
Have you had
been
the
no argument? No. I've been in all those meetings and briefings. There hasn't been one argument. There wasn't an argument in party room the other day either. There was people raised genuine points that they were thinking about, and it was a very respectful conversation. I couldn't even call it a debate.
When the Prime Minister was campaigning to win the seat of Wentworth, Malcolm Turnbull had left Parliament because Scott Morrison had just defeated him. This is like a long time ago. It's October 2018. He promised as soon as possible to introduce some procedures to make sure gay students couldn't be pushed out of school. So he was acknowledging that was something he wanted to do. That's not in this bill. Hasn't he failed to do what he said he would do more than 3 years ago? No,
not one bit. That's not what this bill does. This bill doesn't do that. So the laws that currently allow that to happen are exemptions for religious bodies under the Sex Discrimination Act. Now, as you'd be aware, the government has referred off to the Australian Law Reform Commission to review all discrimination acts and see how they can be harmonised.
So a promise 3 years ago is a promise to refer something now?
Well, no, it's already been referred.
So
there is an inquiry underway There's an inquiry underway right now, Raf, that you and your listeners can make submissions to on this very point.
But there won't be anything after the next election. So something he promised before the last election, we have no idea if that's going to be delivered until after the next election. That seems like a very, very long way away from a promise.
Well, Raf, as you'd be aware, the Law Reform Commission, when it does an inquiry, they're usually of about 2 years' length. So,
well, he's had 3.
It's been a busy couple of years, but it does take time, and it should. These laws, they're quite complex. All sorts of when you're looking at human rights laws, they're complex, they're complicated. They have competing needs and rights and obligations, and so it's only right that the Law Reform Commission take the time, take submissions from experts and from the public and from any other body that wants to contribute to this. I think that's the right path.
Will this be an actual law before the next election?
I believe, or I would imagine so. It is intended to go off to a Senate standing committee once it's been through the House, most likely the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee, of which I'm a member. These inquiries can take a month, they can take 6 months.
So no guarantee really, though, is there?
Well, I think there's every intention and every wish that it is passed through law before the election.
I guess I'm trying to build to a theme, David Van. I know they're not your words, but the Prime Minister has promised this for more than 3 years. He's promised an integrity commission for more than 3 years. It's highly likely we won't get either until after the election. That just seems... Well, it's just incredibly frustrating. If you voted for the Liberal Party and were promised something before the last election and then you don't get it until after the next one, that doesn't sound like a very good process.
No, Raf, these are complex laws, and I'd imagine that your listeners want us to take our time, want us to do all the consultation necessary, want us to get these laws right, want to have the checks and balances in them that we're not seeing out of the Victorian government right now, and make sure that they're right and they work for the majority of Australians the majority of the time. That's the point. You can't rush these things, and nor should we.
Well, you've had 9 years for an anti-corruption body. That's not rushing. That's just dreadfully slow, isn't it? You're in your 9th year of government. We still haven't got legislation in the House for an anti-corruption watchdog. Are you comfortable with that?
That's been promised. That's been promised to come before this Parliament. So
yeah, but
yes,
it's your 9th year of government.
It's coming before the Parliament. This Parliament, Raf.
The government got into a bit of trouble in the Parliament. The House of Parliament that you are not in. You're a senator in the House. There was a vote. One of your own MPs wanted to talk about the independence, Helen Haynes' version of an integrity commission. Are you not at all worried that your own version so far couldn't investigate any of the controversies of the last few years? Christian Porter anonymous donations, car park rorts, sports rorts, couldn't look at that $30 million payment for a $3 million piece of land at Sydney Airport. The current version the Prime Minister's proposed couldn't address any of those things. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I am. We currently have 12 different agencies that hold the government to account. There is a lot of oversight on all this, and all those agencies can look at whatever they choose to look at. So it's not like there is no oversight of government at the moment.
There's no one looking at Christian Porter accepting anonymous donations. There is nobody to look at that.
Well, because he hasn't broken a law.
You're comfortable with politicians taking anonymous donations?
It's not against the law.
I'm asking you if you're comfortable with the idea that people can accept money when they're an elected representative and no one is allowed to know who they're getting money from. Are you really comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think it's better than the Sarah Hanson-Young version.
Well, I'm just asking you if you're comfortable with someone when they're Attorney General receiving money and not having to tell anyone where the money's coming from. Are you personally comfortable with that?
But Raf, so the point is he can't be held, he can't do anyone a favour if he doesn't know who it is. That's the point.
Well, how do we know he doesn't know who it is? That's the point of a corruption body, isn't it? That's the whole point of a corruption body. If it's anonymous, we have no idea if he really doesn't know. That's the point of a corruption body.
Well, how would they find out?
Well, you give them the powers to look into it. Oh, you still there, David Van?
Yes, yeah, no, I'm comfortable with the position that Christian took.
This is maybe the hardest question you can answer. Are you going to win the next election? Do you think you'll win?
Well, given our record over the last 2 years, I think Australians will look to deliver us back into government because they know they can trust us to look after them during a pandemic where we've got some of the lowest case rates, lowest death rates, the highest levels of vaccination. Our economy is coming back at a great rate of knots. So we've looked after people, we've looked after their livelihoods, we've looked after their health. I think that's exactly what Australians want in their government.
I appreciate your time today. Thank you.